You're listening to the Holistic Health Front podcast.
Whether you've already taken steps towards a healthier life,
or you're just starting to explore this path,
this podcast aims to help all of us live longer and more energized lives,
so we can all do the things we want and be the person we know we can be.
We bring on functional health experts, parents, professionals, and everyday people who want to make positive changes in their lives.
And we create powerful conversations about how to feel good in a fun, easy, and understandable way,
so you can live the most fulfilling life possible.
Enjoy today's discussion and let us hear your thoughts in our Powerful People Facebook group.
The information presented in this podcast is not meant to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent, or mitigate any disease.
If you have any questions about your health or the health of a loved one, please consult your healthcare practitioner.
Now let's begin.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Holistic Health Front podcast. Today, we have a bunch of amateurs on here that don't know how to do a podcast, but that's okay. We're all here anyway. Our fearless director is abroad right now, having a good time with his family. He's traveling. So we decided that we would take over this morning for the Holistic Health Front podcast, and we would have a podcast without our fearless leader, Tyler. So we're a bunch of amateurs trying to do this, but we thought, you know what? We'd all get together. We'd have a little, we called it coffee morning chat. So we're going to have a little coffee morning chat. And mine actually says tea because I don't drink coffee. And we'll talk about hormones and caffeine here in a minute. But today, our topic is going to be, Courtney's got stuff. Oh, she's going to talk about hairspray. Yeah, man, we're going to bring it, aren't we? We're going to bring it. Absolutely. So this morning we've got Shannon, Coach Shannon, say hi to everybody.
Good morning. Hello.
All right. And we've got Courtney. Courtney, say hello to everybody.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. We're happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm Stephanie Cook, and we are all health coaches. And we are all here to share information, share our passion, share our love for what we do. And this morning, we're going to talk about hormones because they are vitally important to our health and well-being. And we don't spend enough time talking about them, what they actually do. We think about hormones oftentimes. If it's okay, I'll just do a little introduction about hormones in general, and then we're all just going to sit around like a bunch of girls and chat. So hope you guys are ready. So let's just talk about hormones. You know, when we talk about hormones, we tend to just talk about the sex hormones. You know, we talk about testosterone for men, you know, that makes them strong and, you know, has a great sex drive. And then we talk about estrogen and progesterone for women. Obviously, that affects our cycle, how we have children, it affects our fertility and stuff like that. So we spend a lot of time talking about what I call the sex hormones. And that's fantastic because they are really important, but I don't think we spend enough time talking about how hormones all work together. And we have lots and lots and lots of hormones. Insulin is a hormone. Thyroid is a hormone. Oxytocin is a hormone. Cortisol is a hormone. And our hormones work together. I always like to describe hormones like a symphony orchestra. If you've ever listened to a symphony orchestra, everybody has to keep the tempo, right? And if one person in the orchestra goes awry and changes the tempo or slows it down, then all the other people are like, we got to follow that tempo. And my daughter actually played an orchestra for years, and they would get done with a show, and somebody be like, who did that? We slowed it down. You know, it's not supposed to go that slow. Or somebody else would be like, oh my God, somebody got happy and speeded us up. We're not supposed to be going that fast, you know, but you tend to follow the person, you know, that's leading the tempo. And so our hormones work the same way. If you have one hormone that changes, and that can be insulin, that has to do with blood sugar, all your other hormones join in and start to accommodate that change. If you have a hormone like thyroid that changes, if it goes up or down, all the other hormones, estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, oxytocin, pregnenolone, adrenaline. Adrenaline is a hormone. A lot of people don't realize that. Ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone. A lot of people don't realize that. There are so many hormones, and we just don't talk about all of them the way that we should because they're all interconnected. And that's what one of the things I want people to know is that hormones don't exist in a vacuum by themselves. They work with all the other hormones, simultaneously connected. And so we have to pay attention to that. So that's my first tidbit on hormones. And then I'm going to let Shannon and Courtney weigh in and talk about things that are significant for them. And I know Shannon's going to talk a little bit about gut health because that is, I love it. The body's chaotic symphony. That is fantastic. But each one of us has had a personal experience with hormones. And that's why we got on this morning. That's why we thought it was super important to get on here and talk about it. But I just want you to know it's all connected and it's not just one or two things. And we're going to talk about how they affect every single body system. The way your heart beats, the way your gut digests food, the way your brain thinks, the way your skin presents, the way you sleep, melatonin, serotonin, dopamine, all hormones are connected. So that's my introduction to hormones, is that they don't exist in a vacuum. But I'm going to stop for a minute and free up, and I'm going to let each one of our guests today weigh in and talk about their personal experience with the hormone and what they bring to the table. Because I have lots of books to show everybody. I got lots of stuff to say, but we're going to go around and just everybody share your personal experience with hormones and what you've learned through the years with your personal experience and helping others as well. Shannon, you want to start?
I also want to weigh in. While we have a lot of hormones, they do have some similarities. They bind to and interact with a receptor in a target cell. So what that looks like, for example, is I have my hand here and this is the cell. And let's say estrogen comes along and connects to this cell. That's the receptor. And then they send messages that help regulate various physiological processes and maintain overall health.
Yeah.
So that's what they all have in common. That's why we call them hormones. So, and then, I do like the chaotic symphony that you mentioned.
Yeah.
And you went through the roles of the hormones pretty well. Everything from the endocrine glands, steroid hormones, peptide imbalances. You mentioned the pineal gland, melatonin, the stress hormones, reproduction. We also have hormone replacement therapy. I know that is a very large industry for both men and women for various health conditions. And then I do have a table that I want to share on hormones, where they come from, where they go, and the effects on that. So when we get there, we could talk a little bit about that. And then some endocrine disruptors.
Yeah.
What is causing our imbalances?
That's a good point. We're going to talk about that.
Why is our sleep off? Why is our estrogen through the roof or completely dropped off the face of the earth? One or two reasons.
Yep.
And all the things that go into that. And then what we can do to address our hormones naturally without the pills and the creams and the shots and things of that sort. Not to say anything is wrong with those at all. But sometimes if through some lifestyle adjustments, we can get things back on track without having to spend our additional resources on exterior factors like, shots, creams, pills, so on and so forth. So, and I have my life experience. My business is Forgiving Endo, endometriosis being a condition that is estrogen dominant, and I have been able to reduce my estrogen significantly through lifestyle change.
Shannon, can you explain what estrogen dominance means for our audience?
estrogen dominant is your estrogen is through the roof. I don't remember my numbers off the top of my head, but they were darn near off the chart. Mm-hmm. They went like this, right?
Yeah. Right.
Throughout the women's cycle, they go up and down. Naturally, they're supposed to go up and down. Well, when mine went up, it was like that.
Yeah. So basically, you're dominant estrogen, and so you're not balanced with the other sex hormones and things like that.
Right. And so I had one practitioner who thought that my progesterone was too low. So she put me on progesterone cream. It didn't do anything good for me. It was not a happy place to be. So with further consultation, I came off the cream. And then there was a detox led by the practitioner, and not
We're going to talk about that.
my own, because those can be painful if done on your own. You got to know what you're doing and going at the right pace. And then the estrogen I was able to bring the estrogen down. So if the estrogen is not, your liver plays a part in detoxing the estrogen, converting the estrogen so that it can be excreted through your bowels. Mm-hmm. So if your liver isn't functioning very well, if it's full of other toxins, if it's stressed out from other things that are coming into your body, then it doesn't have as much time and focus to convert the estrogen for it to be excreted from your body, right? So that's one thing. And then you have your xenoestrogens, your plastics, your microwaving and plastics. The alcohol can also impact it. Lousy food, overprocessed food can impact it.
We'll break those down
into one.
There's so many. Stress.
All of the things.
High levels of cortisol.
So did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. I just want to know your personal experience. Endometriosis is something that you've dealt with, and what you focus on even in your business. This is what you do. Yeah, this is a very big focus for you. So this is a hot topic specifically for you as a health coach.
This episode is brought to you by oxygen and carbon dioxide. Breathe deep, breathe slow. Are you tired of nagging headaches, body pains, and feeling like you've been steamrolled by 2 p.m.? Want to feel more alive with a clearer mind, voice, and skin?
Yep.
And not to mention getting rid of that pesky BO when the deodorant starts to wear off?
Ew.
Introducing to you today, water. Did you know that 75% of American adults are chronically dehydrated? And did you know that majority of people who are dehydrated think that they actually are hydrated? That means most people are not drinking enough water. But if they did, and they realized how much of a massive difference it makes in how they feel to be hydrated, they would realize that water can change their life. So drink more water. Aim for 96 fluid ounces per day minimum for adults. Side effects include peeing more often the first couple of weeks, but don't worry, it will slow down soon. I know I should really drink less caffeine. I just wish there was some way of getting energy in the morning without a coffee. The sun! Wait a minute. I feel good. Especially when I close my eyes and stare at the sun through my eyelids. Wow, this is great. I think I'm ready to crush this day now. Thanks, sun. The Sun. Use it for free with care. Hey y'all, hope you've enjoyed these goofy little commercials. The information is all accurate and valid, so please use the tips we shared. Even though we're having fun and being silly recording them, they're still 100% meant to support you and entertain you. We'll be getting back to the show in just a minute, but first, I want to really encourage you to join our free community on Facebook. It's called the Powerful People Community, and it's a place where you can interact with other listeners of the show, including me, our other coaches and co-hosts and everybody. And it's a place where you can ask questions publicly or anonymously. You can request episode topics, you can share your story, and celebrate with a group of really amazing people who will also be celebrating you. So we really hope to see you in the community. We think we're building something really special because we believe when you bring together a group of powerful people, there's just so many great things we can do in this world. more than we could do on our own. So we're building a special community, and we hope to talk to you there soon. Now, let's get back to the show.
So Courtney, a little bit about hormones and you, personal experience, and just what you want to weigh in on. And then we'll talk about things like what Shannon just mentioned, things that we can do to support them, things that are causing them to be disrupted, and we can go from there.
All right, Courtney here. So my business is Finding Balance with Courtney. So I think balance of everything in life, including hormones, is very, very important. I am sliding into perimenopause right now, and I'm starting to notice things are different. Like, I used to be a champion sleeper, and sleep is one of my favorite things in the entire world, and it's being disrupted. And
Yes.
I'm trying, all sorts of things. I quit coffee a year and a half ago, but that was for reasons of menstrual pain, which it really made that so much better, so much bearable. But it also has impacts on your sleep. I do like to take the hormone melatonin very, very occasionally if I need a little pep in my step. But I have noticed, not pep in my step, pep out of my step. I have noticed that recently, if I take a melatonin, I wake up 4 hours later. And
Oh, wow.
so something is going on with that.
Right.
And I don't know what. I'm just, trying to figure it out. I've been supplementing with magnesium, and that's been helping with my sleep. If I take it earlier in the day versus later in the day, I sleep better earlier in the day, or I sleep better if I take it earlier in the day. It's all about experimenting and listening to your body and knowing where the imbalances are and experimenting.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So my personal experience with hormones, it's funny. I was one of those very blessed people that was relatively healthy. I have 2 children. I have a 21-year-old son and a 23-year-old daughter, and I was able to get pregnant very quickly. I just always felt so blessed. I always thought, man, my hormones are rocking, right? And then I had a personal experience. We had some family trauma where I spent a significant amount of time taking care of my mother. And I did end of life care with my mother. And that involved a 24/7 schedule because of the way that my mom's disease progressed. She didn't sleep. So the person that was taking care of her didn't sleep either. And so I had about 6 months where I wasn't taking care of my body because I was focusing on end of life care with my mother. And I thought I was superhuman. I thought my hormones were amazing. And I will tell you this, I hit rock bottom. All my hormones went crazy. And because of that, it was called adrenal fatigue. And what I did is I pushed myself so hard during those times because mom wasn't sleeping, so I wasn't sleeping. And so I literally would go days and days and days with, a couple of hours of rest. And this went on for several months. And then mom passed. Well, and I thought I could just jump back into my life. Well, I always say the body gets the last word. And I got super sick. I had adrenal fatigue so bad that I could not function. I could not get off the couch. I could not hold a conversation. I could not focus on a book. Something as simple as watching, they talk about couch potato, right? I'll just watch television all day. Watching television or focusing on anything became extremely overwhelming. I could not even hold my focus to watch television. Well, adrenal fatigue doesn't just affect the adrenal gland. My thyroid plummeted. My progesterone went to nothing. Like I had no progesterone in my system. Hot flashes started coming into my life. Sleep, Courtney, sleep was non-existent. And it's crazy because you would think as fatigued as I was, I should be able to just close my eyes and sleep. But with progesterone gone, which is progesterone has a lot of protective qualities. And with progesterone gone, so when cortisol goes up, cortisol is your stress hormone, progesterone tanks. And so my stress hormone was elevated for a significant amount of time. And I mom passed away 4.5 years ago, and I've only been feeling well enough probably in the last few months. I mean, it's taken me years to climb out of this. And the reason I share that is because I have been a health and wellness coach for almost 20 years. And I have a lot of background knowledge on how to do self-care and how to do self-care very well. But when I was taking care of mom, there was no self-care at all. And I was thinking, oh, it's just 6 months, right? That shouldn't have derailed, the 20 years that I've been a health coach and know how to take care of myself. It completely flattened me. And with all of my tricks and all of my knowledge and everything that I knew to do, from eating correctly to exercising correctly to meditation, breathing, supplementation, I could not heal myself. I could not get off the couch. So I say that to say we have to be very careful about protecting our hormones. And I will say one of the reasons that I think I crashed so so much during the time that I took care of mom, because I was in perimenopause. And in perimenopause, your natural sex hormones, progesterone and estrogen, slowly start to decline anyway. So those sex hormones, estrogen and progesterone, have a protective quality so that when you're in your 20s and 30s, you can kind of power through, right? You're superhuman, right? You did your you pulled your all-nighters in college, or you pulled your all-nighters drinking and having fun with friends and dancing, whatever your all-nighter was, you could do it, right? And I did it numerous times, and when I had my babies, I have 2 children. I mean, those things don't sleep. Those little rugrats are, they're like little coke addicts. They're very needy. But I have memories of me, staying up late with the babies, and I never had any problem then. But what happened was, I was 50. I'm 54 right now. I was 50 when mom got really sick, and I basically moved in with mom to take care of her. But I was going through perimenopause, and all those protective hormones of estrogen and progesterone were starting to decline. And so that rushing and pushing myself did not work in my 50s because the balance is different. So that's just my personal experience. And I like to share it with people because I'm one of those people that had the background knowledge and I still couldn't pull myself off the couch. So if you're out there suffering and you're going, oh my God, what am I going to do? I just want you to know you can climb back out of that, but it does require some guidance. I had to reach outside of my library. Shannon talked about, seeing different people. I had my hormones tested. I worked with a functional medicine doctor. I've learned a lot from different books. I did a little bit of bioidentical creams to try to help balance that progesterone, which was 0. When you get your hormones tested and you have no progesterone. And then I did things like diet to help feed different parts of my hormones. So I like to share personal stories because everybody assumes we have all the answers as health coaches, and we're people just like you, and we go through challenges, and it's the reason we become so passionate about helping others because we've walked in your shoes and we know how you feel. So that's my personal experience with hormones. And then let's just kind of break this up. I want to talk about hormone disruptors, things that cause hormones to not do well. And there's a lot of them in our society. So real quick, Shannon, give me your hormone disruptors. What are things that really make a difference in your life? And then Courtney, I want you to jump in and say, what are those things that you've noticed disrupt your hormones or through your education or personal experience? Let's jump on that and talk about our society has a lot of things coming at us that affect our hormones that we don't probably even know about. Shannon, you want to go first? Honey, you got to unmute yourself. Did you mute yourself? Let's see.
Is that better?
Now talk. There you
Okay.
go. You're back.
All right. I had some background noise. I wanted to make sure I got cut out. Alrighty. So a couple of things that I think really, really impacted my estrogen getting out of whack was stress. So excess cortisol alone can contribute to mood changes, low libido, weight gain, irregular periods. Prolonged stress response can also interfere with estrogen. And then my cortisol was hardly registering. So that's your flight or fight hormone. And mine was so low that it increases in the morning to help you get out of bed. Mine wasn't coming up to help me get out of bed. I was in survival mode for a while. I had left where I grew up for 30 years, moved to a completely different state, 13-hour drive away. I knew 3 people. I started a new job. The hours were not great. The hours were not consistent. The pay wasn't great, but I wanted to move for various reasons, so I did. And I didn't have the support system in this new city that I had back home. So all of that, and then new city, it was enormous compared to where I came from. So there's, living by myself, living in an apartment for the very first time in my life, there was a lot of things going on that were stressors, right? So it impacted the adrenal and the cortisol. And it just created chaos from there. So, and this was done through saliva testing, by the way. It wasn't just the blood test. So there's different ways to test your hormones.
I want to just interrupt and say you really do need to get a full picture of your hormones. If you're somebody that's listening and struggling, urine test can be very effective. Saliva test can be very effective. I think the blood test of hormones is probably the least, it doesn't give the full picture like the other two do. So keep that in mind. If you've had your hormones tested just through the blood serum, it's probably not an accurate representation. A urine test plus a saliva test oftentimes creates a really comprehensive picture of your hormones.
Right. And also keep in mind where you are in your cycle when you get this hormone test, because you can take a hormone test one morning and get this result, and you can take a hormone test the next morning and have a different result, because it kind of depends on what's happening. So I would think that it's very beneficial to have a series done over time, so you can get a wider picture versus Tuesday.
Yeah. The Dutch test does that.
Yeah.
You have to do the Dutch test on a particular day of your cycle as a female. I'm sorry, I cannot speak to the male side of any of this, only the female side, because that's what I've lived through. But the Dutch test does do that. You'd have
That's
to.
a good test. I like the Dutch. I use the Dutch test as well. Dutch stands for dried urine test for comprehensive hormones. So if you're looking for a pretty comprehensive test, and then there's a Dutch test plus or Dutch test complete, I think, that will add the saliva vial on there as well, depending on which lab or practitioner that you're working with. So if you've had your hormones tested just through your blood serum, you probably don't have a full comprehensive view of what's actually going on in your body. It's just something to consider.
So, a couple of things that were disrupting me at this time as well. I was not in health coaching. I was just starting to educate myself. So I was still drinking soy milk, not necessarily organic. And I was drinking that because I like the flavor. I do not like cow milk at all, ever. And I drank coffee, lots of coffee, minimum 1 large cup. And by 1 large cup, I would drink it out of a pint glass size.
Oh, that's a lot of coffee.
Yeah. Well, I was getting up at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning to go to work.
Yeah.
So and I didn't have any cortisol. So it took a lot to get me going, literally, which I later learned was just exacerbating the problem. In addition, I lived by myself. I had no reason to cook, so I microwaved a lot of things in plastic. That didn't help. Plastic is cheap. Like I said, I moved from one city to another. The water here is absolute rubbish. Where I grew up, it was not so bad. You could put it through a Brita and be fine. Here, I won't go into those details. It was bad. It was so bad. So then I had to buy water. Well, I'm a small person, so I couldn't buy, a big glass container of water. I lived in an apartment, so I couldn't get a filtration system for the whole place. So I had to buy 2-gallon water jugs, plastic water jugs. And that's what I used. That's what I cooked with, all the things there. I moved myself down here. It was not a move by a company, so I had to pay for everything. I refused to borrow money from the bank of mom and dad, so I paid for everything. And I did not have a lot of money, so buying organic, not an option.
Right.
I didn't buy protein. My protein came from tofu. Again, soy-based, not great for high estrogen, and it was not organic. And that was my main source of protein, that and beans. I ate a lot of frozen vegetables because I really don't like the taste of canned vegetables. So, there's a lot of impact on that as well. Again, they're kept in plastic. I was microwaving them in plastic.
Yeah. For those that don't know, plastics can release a xenohormone that can be a huge hormone disruptor. They can also be lined with BPA, which is a chemical that it actually is a hormone disruptor as well. For those she's emphasizing plastic. For those of our listeners that don't know, plastic can have a lot of toxins in them that are known hormone disruptors.
Right. And so the disrupting part is, here's your cell. It looks like estrogen. The cell thinks it's estrogen, so it lets it in as estrogen, and it's not estrogen.
Right.
And
so
it wreaks
blocks
havoc.
So it
and
blocks
it causes
the receptor.
inflammation.
Right.
Downhill you go. That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
So, I was also consuming quite a bit of wine.
Sounds like you needed it.
Depending on your school of thought. And I was a smoker, and that also increases estrogen. It decreases the oxygen level, and it does increase estrogen. So I was doing everything I possibly could to increase my estrogen, and I didn't know it at the time. So, and then exacerbate that with stress. As Stephanie said earlier, my periods were becoming very, 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 very intense again. And on one hand, it was like, oh, drink red wine. It's a blood thinner. No, don't drink red wine.
So wine is not the answer?
Scientifically, I don't remember all those details. Here's what I needed to know. This is not working for me.
Right. Right.
This is a bad idea.
Yeah.
The sugar content was not helping. I was becoming insulin resistant, according to the blood test. I had hypothyroid coming on. All of the things were wreaking havoc. So, by the way, cheese and crackers, not a well-balanced diet.
But you could afford it.
Right.
I
Cheese
on the
and crackers. Yeah.
once. It was horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, it tasted great, but the aftermath
I
was.
used to go back on the ramen noodle diet from college.
Oh.
More sophisticated. I was drinking wine and eating cheese and crackers and tofu and green beans. It was.
Oh my God. I'm guilty of the ramen noodle diet from college. Been there, done that.
Yeah, I'm never doing it again.
Yeah.
So, oh gosh. Yeah.
All right. Courtney, I want to hear about you. How have you discovered hormone disruptors in your life, and how did that show up physically and mentally for you, or just with your clients if you don't have a personal experience?
Yeah, I have been very lucky to be pretty even keel. It's really just in the last year or so that I've started to notice sleep disruptions. Mm-hmm. But I am as aware as possible of what goes in my body, and I put the best things that I can in my body. I This is metal. This is a metal cup. I also have like mason jars to store my food in the fridge if I have leftovers. And I don't use a microwave. I have not used a microwave to microwave anything since probably my very early 20s, because
Wow.
I do believe there is something structurally happens to our food, and I want to get the best out of my food that I can. And I live on an island in the middle of the Caribbean Sea. It's very difficult here to get organic produce, but I do my best. There is an organic farm down the road, and I buy my greens weekly from her, which is great. And occasionally I'll hop over to St. Thomas and go to a shop that has a lot more organic produce. But I eat here very simply, and I think I've eaten pretty simply my whole life. I've eaten a lot of variety, but I don't. I don't know, maybe simply is the wrong word. There's another word for that, but it's not coming to me. But I feel like I've eaten healthy as much as I can. I go to farmers markets and buy organic as much as I can. I don't know. I have no idea how long I'm going to live, but I want to feel my best while I'm living. And I don't want any disruptions. And I know food is one way that you can keep your body balanced, being very aware of what's going in your mouth and in your eyes and in your ears. And I'm not saying you have to be super strict 100% of the time. That's impossible. Like, shoot, if a chocolate cake just came across my desk right now, I would eat it because I like a good chocolate cake.
Absolutely.
Who doesn't?
Absolutely.
So you've got to really look at what's balancing. And I really strive for an 80-20, 80% on the mark and 20%, let's try that. Somebody bring some tips.
And Courtney, you brought up a good thing. You said for your eyes and your ears as well. You want to explain a little more about that?
Yeah. I mean, it's also what you're consuming. What are you watching on television? What are you watching on social media? I've heard a lot of people talking lately about like real crime dramas and people finding relaxation with real crime dramas, but really that is very intense, and it can whip up cortisol because it's stressful.
It is.
And you're watching that, and you're watching this movie in your mind, and what you're seeing on the TV. And I am concerned about what I watch. And so I try to watch more uplifting stuff. I am a sucker for rom-coms.
Me too.
I have been for a really long time.
Me too.
And documentaries. Yeah. They're so fun. They're so cute. They're so cheesy. I mean, they're super formulaic, but you can sit down and be like, all right, who's fallen in love? And then who's getting in a fight? And then who's fallen in love again?
And who's going to be the sidekick?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And also it's who you surround yourself with. Like, are you surrounding yourself with people who fuel you? Are you surrounding yourself with people who challenge you in a good way, who see the true you, around whom you can be like, yeah, I'm Courtney and here I am, and take it or leave it. And those people, they love you and they say good things to you and support you and call you up when you need to, when you can improve. Like, I use the word call you up versus call you out, because if they call you up, it's helping you to up level versus being called out.
Yeah. And I want to talk about the science behind what Courtney just said. Oxytocin is the feel-good hormone. It's called the bonding hormone. Some people call it the cuddle hormone. But the things that Courtney was just describing actually release oxytocin, that shared experience with people, that shared bonding, that friendship that you have. When you surround yourself with people that lift you up, you release oxytocin. Why does that matter? Oxytocin has a profound governing effect on estrogen and progesterone. So if you want to get your estrogen and progesterone intact, you definitely want to pay attention to oxytocin. So what can I do to increase my oxytocin? Courtney just described so many good things: rom-coms, laughing, increases your oxytocin. Spending time with friends, feeling supported, hugs, kisses, sex. We're talking about sex hormones. We got to talk about sex. Massages. And you know, I always tell people, everybody's like, I can't afford a massage. So I always tell people, do self massage. You know, you can rub your, your shoulders, and you can give yourself a head massage, and, you know, you give yourself a neck massage, but you can actually release oxytocin yourself, you know, just, give yourself a hug, even, giving yourself a hug, and just like, I just love me. Love me. If nobody else can love me, I'm gonna love me. You know, I tell my clients to touch themselves, and it's kind of it's a little controversial, but but what Courtney is describing is science. I mean, the science behind it is oxytocin. Oxytocin helps bring up progesterone and estrogen levels, and helps bring down cortisol levels. It is a profound governing hormone that smooths and complements the other hormones. So there's a lot of science behind what she's saying.
Right now, I am the coordinator for the St. John Women Out Walking group. And so there's a group of women that all get together and we hike. And that's what I was doing right before this recording. And it's such a wonderful highlight of my week. I know I'm going to see my friends. I know we're going to talk about our weeks, and we're going to get support. We're going to laugh together, and we're also going to get exercise, and we're in the fresh air, and just appreciating the beauty that surrounds us. And I love being a part of that group. And I'm so glad that I, was chosen to coordinate for the summer/fall. It's been a real gift.
Yeah. Yeah. And, we talk about lab tests and all those types of things, and they can be very useful tools, but, sometimes just get together with some friends. This is a weekly thing, right, Courtney?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Yeah. And, we can get transfixed on the problems instead of focusing on some of the more, free things that can be social and fun, so keep that in mind. Maybe you find a group to walk with at night, or maybe you decide, once a month, to host friends and have people over. Start a book club, those types of things can be really good at helping your hormones. I know it doesn't sound like it, but it really can. Cooking together. I love to have people over and cook. I have an island in my kitchen, and we just gather around the island, and we cook, and we talk, and we laugh, and we eat food, some organic, some not. Find a way to fellowship that can actually be extremely beneficial for your hormones, because it releases oxytocin, and oxytocin is a powerful governing hormone for the other sex hormones. So Shannon, did you want to weigh in?
Found, I'm going to see if I can share this here real quick. You were talking about the oxytocin.
Yes.
There. And that comes from the pituitary.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the reproductive, goes to reproductive childbirth changes. So I used this on another presentation on hormones for my group of women. And we have a list of hormones here. And I had to break the table down to fit the slide.
Right.
Where they're secreted to. We have your adrenal, hypothalamus, ovary, pancreas, parathyroid. And what I was showing them was how much the pituitary gland is involved, which I have highlighted in green. Mm-hmm. And that's not something that, we commonly talk about in endometriosis. Yeah. We always focus on the reproductive organs, which I have highlighted in this kind of pink color.
Right.
And then how much it impacts the whole body is in gray.
Yeah. Well, and I want to talk a little bit about the pituitary gland, because everybody's like, how do I, there's things that we can do to feed it. But one of the things that we know is that deep breathing has a positive effect on the pituitary gland. If you do what we call belly breathing or square breathing, where you're taking in deep breaths, you can have a very profound positive effect on that pituitary gland. And that's something everybody can do for free. And the other thing is you can literally rub right here. I actually took a reflexology class years ago, and my husband loved it because I was practicing on him. I'm like, oh, I was rubbing all sorts of points and doing reflex points and stuff. But, you can literally give yourself a little massage right here, and that will help have a soothing, calming effect on the pituitary gland as well. So all the green on your page shows how important the pituitary gland is. And we can do some simple things like breathing and a little bit of reflexology to help stimulate and support that gland.
Same
the deep breathing.
Pineal gland as well. The pineal gland is activated by breathing. And that's such a wonderful little nugget in our brain that I think we're just starting to really learn more about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The deep breathing also expands the diaphragm, pushes on the liver, and helps the liver do its job in detoxing.
Yes.
And we really need to focus on detoxing. And I don't mean your detox. I'm not talking only about detox drinks and detox pills.
Right.
We detox through sweating. We detox just by breathing out.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We detox every time we urinate or have a bowel movement. All of this is a part of detoxing.
Yeah.
And for estrogen purposes, before perimenopause and menopause, obviously, right? And if you need to lower your estrogen, deep breathing also helps, squishes the liver, helps it do its job, things of that sort. And it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which also helps you calm down, can help activate the vagus nerve, which also helps you calm down. Activating the vagus nerve also helps the gut digest. Mm-hmm. So you need to rest and digest. If you think about being in fight or flight, you are going into a protective mode. You're not going to digest your food. Your body is trying to keep you alive.
Right.
Even though the bears aren't chasing us anymore, our body still has an instinct to live. Mm-hmm. So if we are living in a constant state of stress, whatever it might be, moving to a new city, having a crazy job, having crazy relationships, that's a different podcast, right? But those things add up to stress. And if you are living in a constant stress mode, you're not regularly taking deep breaths, rubbing your forehead, going for a walk, a run, or anything, doing anything to help you calm down. Drinking and smoking does not calm you down, guys. I know it feels like it. Trust me. I know it feels like it, but it's really hurting you.
Yeah.
And getting anything to help you get over that, highly recommend. That you can get your whole body back into a place of rest so you can digest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Deep breathing is also super good for your heart because it lets your diaphragm give your heart space. And then it massages it. And when you give your heart space, it can pump better. So we need to get out of our American breathing way up here and just move it into the diaphragmatic breathing. It's super heart healthy and vagus nerve healthy and everything that Shannon said.
Yeah. The vagus nerve is the nerve that runs from our brain all the way down to our gut. And so that breathing, that channel goes all the way down here. You can hum. I like to take a deep breath in, and then on the exhale, be like, because it stimulates, the vocal cords will stimulate that vagus nerve as well. But that's what the vagus nerve is for those of you listening that don't know. It's the nerve that runs from your brain all the way down to your gut. I want to talk a little bit more about hormone disruptors, and then I want to talk about ways that we can fix that. But here's some real basic things that a lot of people don't think about. You guys, if you're putting lotion on your body, and I am one of those people that do that, and I've done it for years. If you're putting lotion on your body and it has a fragrance, if you're putting lotions on your body and they're the traditional commercial use, you are disrupting your skin microbiome. There's just as many bacteria on your skin as there are in your digestive tract, in your gut. And your microbiome, your entire microbiome, plays a huge, we used to think that the microbiome was following what the body did. We now know that the body's following the cues from the microbiome. And so the bacteria on our skin and the bacteria in our gut needs to be addressed in a huge way. These are friendly bacteria. These are positive, life-giving bacteria. And we've spent so much time using antibacterial soaps. We make sure that we don't have bacteria underneath our armpits. We make sure we don't have bacteria, in our bodies. And Shannon has just put up a great graphic of all the different things that carry endocrine disruptors. So you're going to have pesticides that are in your foods. You're going to have polyestrogens that show up in your foods. Polyestrogen is something that mimics estrogen. And so it'll get that receptor site that Shannon was talking about. Instead of my estrogen going in there, it'll block that receptor site. So even when my body is manufacturing good estrogen, that receptor site is now clogged and it can't recognize your estrogen that's in there. So oftentimes people will get a hormone test and their hormones will be fine, but they still feel bad. It's because the receptor sites have been clogged with these toxins. So if you're putting lotion on your body every day, I strongly encourage you to stop. Everybody will really resist this, including me. But I encourage you to not use lotions, especially lotions with fragrance, colors, dyes. But in general, your skin microbiome, the bacteria on your skin, doesn't need to be interrupted. And if you're interrupting it every single day with a lotion, it can cause a lot of harm. There are a few probiotic skin products out there that you could use if you have extremely dry skin. One of the biggest things that my clients tell me is that I can't stop doing lotion because my skin is so dry. Dry brushing, if you're not familiar with dry brushing, it's literally taking a brush made of organic hairs and you're literally dry brushing. I do it in the shower before I actually turn on the water, but dry brushing will remove those toxins on your skin that are causing you to have dry skin. If you do dry brushing a couple of times a week, you will have silky smooth skin. You will have no need for lotions. So that's a big one. The deodorant that you're using, that's a huge hormone disruptor. The cosmetics, pay attention to what's in them. Try to make sure that they're organic. Try to make sure that they're sourced well. Our clothing can have it. So pay attention. Like, we're running around getting rid of all of the bacteria, especially after this worldwide pandemic that we had. You guys, our bodies need bacteria. Our bodies need bacteria in a huge way. Go outside and dig in the dirt. Go hug a tree. Go lay on the ground. Go get dirty. Our bodies need that bacteria. So I know Shannon mentioned plastics. If you can switch your plastics to glass like Courtney has done, that can be huge. But make sure your water bottle is a glass or metal water bottle. Do not drink out of a plastic water bottle.
Stephanie, I don't mean to interrupt, but I want to go back just a little bit here. You were talking about the lotions.
Yes.
And EWG.
Yes, that's a good one.
Is a great EWG.org is a great site that you can check, where they check and post reports on products and how toxic they are. So keywords, paraben free is hot, things of that sort. Because, shampoo, conditioner, soaps, things of that sort. Another great tip for moisturizing is having clean water, drinking, increasing your water intake. And then for those times, especially not so much now where I live, but where I grew up in the winter, it was so dry.
Yeah.
So dry all the time. And organic cold press coconut oil and organic aloe. Super helpful for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And they won't disrupt
I use organic coconut oil to moisturize my skin. And here where I live, it was always room temperature, so it's easy, or it's always liquid at room temperature, so it's easy to apply.
Yeah. And I encourage, those are fantastic, and I use those as well. But I do encourage people to give your skin a break as well. so that you want that bacteria on your skin. And there is a huge connection between your skin bacteria, your brain health and your gut health. So the other thing I want to talk about is gut health. If you're one of those people that says, I've done all the things, I've cut out the toxins, I've tried to rest well, but I'm still not moving the needle on my hormone health, I strongly encourage you to look at your gut health. Gut health is a direct link to hormone health. Our microbiome in our gut informs our hormones. So you might want to get a urine candida test. If you are, candida is a fungus that's on our body and it's a naturally occurring, but if we have an overgrowth of it, it can cause all sorts of problems. So if you have any type of gut issues, whether you're gassy or you have heartburn or constipation, diarrhea, or anything going on down there, you're going to want to pay attention to that because it's connected to your hormone health. Your gut health and your hormone health are directly connected. So, and it's not just about taking a good probiotic, which I always recommend. It's about making sure that the bad guys that are in the gut have been removed. Oftentimes parasites can wreak havoc in your gut. Candida overgrowth and other funguses can wreak havoc in your gut. You can also have unfriendly bacteria. And there are some protocols that you can do to help clean those out. You can reach out to health coaches, a functional medicine practitioner. They do a good job, but pay attention to your gut health as well. I just wanted to mention those. We spend our lives putting stuff on our bodies and not recognizing what we're doing to it. So pay a lot of attention to that as well. That's a simple thing that anybody can do. What else was I going to say? Anybody go ahead and weigh in because I had one more thing that I was going to say.
There was a study that was just posted. I was looking for it. It came out of Japan and it was talking about a bacteria in the gut that is commonly found in women with endo. I was just looking it up to share. So I found that to be very interesting. Another one is E. coli. They found that to be high in women with endo, and that's not cool.
Yeah.
So a good probiotic, I mean this in the nicest way possible. Yogurt doesn't necessarily have enough. Kefir doesn't necessarily have enough. It might, and by enough, I mean enough variety. And the probiotic that you're going to get at ambient temperature at your grocery store, probably not going to have enough either. It's probably going to have a lot of other ingredients and shelf stabilizers that may or may not be alive and may or may not be helpful for you at all. So that's another reason why, we as coaches want to definitely keep the rest of the medical practitioners in the loop when it comes to your health, because the good stuff is usually only sold through the practitioners.
Unfortunately, yes, that is true. Yeah. And I was just helping a client this week connect to some products because they're just the over-the-counter stuff. Not all of it, but a lot of it is just not the quality that's necessary to create the impact that you want to move the needle on your health. So I want to talk about sleep. Courtney mentioned sleep, but I say sleep is the ultimate antidote for anything that ails you. Anything that ails you. There is I know that we had an episode on sleep and I wasn't able to participate on that. It's a wonderful book out there called Why Sleep Matters by Matthew Walker, I think is his name. But sleep is super, super important. And we blow this off all the time. Sleep will help regulate your hormones. And so it affects your hormones in a huge way. So trying to get deep, restful sleep can be super, super important. And if you're struggling with sleep, then there's probably other hormones like serotonin, melatonin, oxytocin, cortisol that are playing some roles in there. So, reach out to a health coach, reach out to a practitioner, to see if you can't get some support in that area. But some basic things, you guys, do not be on your computers or your televisions or your cell phones. We all have one. Mine's sitting right here. I mean, I have mine next to me and I'm doing a podcast. The blue light that is on your cell phone, you can go in underneath settings and you can actually create for the blue light to go off, during the evening hours and not come back on until the day hours. That's super important. You might want to go in and set your cell phone so that the blue light actually starts to dissipate when the sun actually starts to set in your area, wherever you live. So that's huge. Other things is make sure you turn the lights down low. There's lots of things you can do for sleep, but if you're not getting enough sleep, you are having a negative effect on your hormones, all of them, not just estrogen and progesterone. It affects dopamine, your ability to focus. It affects adrenaline. It affects cortisol. So that's just something to keep in mind as well.
And sleep is very important because that's the time that your brain and your body takes the garbage out. And you need that time for your body and your brain to get rid of that
Absolutely.
stuff. Otherwise, it's a toxic buildup, and it's definitely going to interrupt your hormones and how you're feeling. So definitely, sleep. I can't say it enough.
And good sleep, 7 to 9 hours. You guys, if you tell me that you survive great on 5 hours worth of sleep, it's not accurate. It's not possible. There are no anomalies out there. There are no superhumans out there. All humans require a minimum of 7 hours of sleep, 7 to 9 hours of sleep. I'm probably closer to one of those 9 hours a night person. Yeah. Especially going through menopause, I've noticed I need to be down 9 hours to really feel rested. But a couple of the other things that with sleep, if you're outside during sunset, there are these red light rays that come through at sunset that actually trigger your brain to start producing melatonin. Yay. That's the sleeping hormone. And they trigger your brain to downregulate cortisol. Yay. That's a good thing. So literally, there's about 30-40 minutes during sunset where there's some red light rays that come through that are fantastic for helping your body produce melatonin and downregulate cortisol. And on the flip side, during the sunrise, I do this every morning, you guys, since my hormones got really bad. I literally open my window and I during the sunrise, and there's about 30 minutes during sunrise where you have red light rays that actually upregulate cortisol during the day. Shannon was talking about hers weren't doing it at all. So she was using a lot of coffee and stimulants to get going. And then it'll downregulate melatonin. So every morning I will drag my body out of bed and I'm having hot flashes and going through menopause and all that type of stuff. And I've noticed that if I can sit in front of the window for just 5 minutes, that I'll feel that cortisol go up. It's almost like I've had a cup of coffee. Like my whole body will be like, woo, okay, I think I can handle this. But when I first, my husband makes fun of me because when I first drag my body out of bed and I go to the window that's facing the sunrise, my head's leaning against the window and I'm like, okay, I'm doing my morning window thing. I mean, I don't wake up rested, especially with, the hormones and the menopause, but little by little, all of a sudden I sit up, you will feel it. And if you do it several days in a row, it's huge. So most of us might not be able to sit there for 5 minutes, but open a window that's going to let those rays in and finish packing your lunchbox or whatever you need to do. There's some really basic things that we can do to reset those circadian rhythms that will affect our hormones.
For Christmas last year, I asked for an alarm clock that has the light. So the light slowly comes on.
Yeah.
Because in order to be at work on time and to take care of all of the things at the house, including the dog before I leave, and now that, the sun is coming up later.
Yeah.
Having a soft light.
Yes.
Is now a part of my wake up routine because I don't have access to the sunrise in my bedroom early enough for me to get up.
Well, you can buy a full spectrum light box or, light. And so I have one in my bathroom because you're right. In this we don't get any access to that light. So I'll get up and I just have it on in the bathroom. It hits my husband, it hits me, it just kind of, and that will help as well. If you don't have access to that morning light, you can buy yourself a full spectrum light. It's called a light box. It's usually square, but that it's going to let in that good light as well. Those are good tips. Thanks, Shannon. Yeah. What else do we want to talk about? We're going to wrap this up. We're getting close to an hour, but hormone health is super important, and it's something that we need to bring to the forefront because it doesn't just affect how we feel. It truly affects how we show up in this world, how we show up for our family, how we show up for our friends, how we show up for ourselves. And so it really needs to be brought to the forefront of your health conversation. It's not just, am I exercising? Am I really paying attention to those hormones? So I have a couple of books that I want to recommend because they're at the end. I'm going through menopause. Yay me! And I have this wonderful book called The Menopause Reset. It is by Dr. Mindy Pelz. And we'll make sure that we put some information in that. This is a fantastic book for people that are trying to figure out, why is this happening and why can't I fix that? It has great information on how to detox those receptor sites. Shannon was talking about how those receptor sites get blocked and clogged. Great information on how to detox those receptor sites. Great information on how to get rid of the bad guys in your life. I have another one. This is for the men. I know we said we weren't going to talk about men, but I do have male clients, and I'm married to a man, and my son is, So I love this one. It's called I Disagree, and it is by Dr. Patrick Flynn. It's fantastic, and it talks about the hormone cycles. It's going to speak more. It's just two different things, but this one talks to men about their hormones, and it talks to women about male hormones, and it talks to men about female hormones, because female hormones are completely different than male hormones. We have 4 cycles a month. Everybody thinks we have 1 menstrual cycle. No, we have 4 cycles a month. And so our hormones do this all month long. And so there's times in our cycle, like when we're menstruating, it's a time where we shouldn't push ourselves really hard with exercise. We shouldn't be running a marathon. We shouldn't be doing intense exercise. More calming exercises are going to rebuild those hormones. And then there's times closer to ovulation where we can do the more intense exercises, where we can upregulate that adrenaline because it's going to produce some positive effects and stuff like that. So this book talks about that. We have some, so those are a couple of really good books. And then this book is for those people that are interested in fasting, but they don't know how to do it to follow your cycle. The fasting has gotten a lot of bad press because we're doing it the wrong way. We're starving ourselves in times that we shouldn't be starving ourselves and things like that. So this particular book, Fast Like a Girl, it is by Dr. Mindy Pelz. She does a great job talking about the 4 cycles that a woman has. And if you are going to choose an intermittent fasting lifestyle, you definitely want to make sure that it follows your cycles, your hormone cycles. This book does a great job talking about how to correct. Like, we have people that will get off of birth control pills and then not have a cycle, and they're trying to get pregnant. Book does a great job talking about how to regulate that and get yourself back. So those are just 3 resources.
That happened to me. I was on the pill from 95 through 2007.
Yeah.
And 2007, I was on 4 different pills because I was bleeding 3 weeks out of the month.
Yeah, that's not good.
And so I was like, Doc, how about I come off of this? It couldn't be any worse than what's going on. And he said, sure, okay. And then 2008, I didn't have a cycle at all. And when you have a year like 2007, 2008 was glorious.
Yeah.
Considered unhealthy, but
yeah.
it was glorious.
Yeah. Well, and what I love about this book is it talks about the foods that feed progesterone. Progesterone likes, some of the complex carbohydrates. Estrogen likes a lot of the natural fats, so it talks about trying to eat to feed progesterone and estrogen to create a cycle again. Because a lot of women will get off birth control and then they don't have a cycle, or their cycle is really rough. So I love how she describes what we can do to get that cycle back in again. And I'm going to let everybody else weigh in because we're going to wrap this up. But I'm going to say one thing about female hormones. They are an absolute gift. In our society, we tend to make a lot of fun. We tend to have a lot of shame. Like nobody wants to talk about menopause, right? Like that's embarrassing. I'm not going to be young and beautiful anymore. I'm not going to have the vitality of my youth. So we're not openly talking about menopause. We need to openly talk about our hormones. It's embarrassing to talk about our, bleeding. Nobody wants to talk about bleeding. It's embarrassing to talk about the fact that I'm 20 years old and I don't have a sex drive. Or just the opposite. I'm 20 years old and my sex drive is through the roof and it doesn't make any sense, right? We need to stop. We need to pull hormones out of the closet and they need to be in the forefront of our conversations. We need to take the shame element out of hormones and we need to take the shame element out of the fact that women cycle. Women cycle. Our hormones go like this. Men don't cycle. Men are consistent. Men have hormones they need to balance, but they don't cycle. Okay? Women do. We cycle like this. And when we cycle, we have times where our emotions are different, our focus is different, our physical muscle endurance is different, and there's nothing to be ashamed about. It is an absolute beautiful thing that we cycle. And by the way, listeners, there's not a single person on this planet that wouldn't have gotten here without a woman's cycle. Like, I'm just saying, it is, it is the source of life, right? We carry babies in the womb. So I think in our society, we try to hide the fact that we're on our menstrual cycle, right? So we power through. When I was on my menstrual cycle, my energy was so low and I was so fatigued, but I didn't want to tell anybody. I didn't want to tell anybody that I was bleeding. I didn't want to tell anybody that I, didn't want to do something because I was on my period. It's okay to say, whew, I'm just tired. I'm going to stay home tonight, So I want us to really embrace the fact. That's the other thing. Women are trying to get rid of their cycles. We're doing everything we can to not have a cycle. We're taking birth control pills. We're doing the shot. We're doing the implants. We're doing ablations. We're taking out organs. We have this aversion to our female parts. Now, there are times when there is disease and disruption, and that is very important. So I'm not taken away from those that have had to go through those because I do know you do the best you can with the knowledge that you have in front of you. But we literally, we will do anything not to have a cycle. I mean, Shannon jokingly said 2008, she didn't have a cycle. And that was a good year. She literally said, that was a great year. No tampons, no pads, no bleeding through, no bloating, right? No PMS. We tend to demonize our cycles. You guys, we have to stop doing that. It is a beautiful part of who we are. It is how our health is governed, is through this cycle. So I want you to pull it into the forefront of honoring it, loving it, and being okay with it and recognizing it as the gift of vitality for you and not the curse of humanity for you. All right, there's my soapbox. I'll quit.
I know when menopause hits for me, I will miss the cleansing, the feeling of detoxification of my period when that happens. Because when it happens now, I'm like, okay, this is going to be painful for a little bit, but I'm detoxing. Here we go. Starting again, the cycle, just like the moon.
Yeah, for sure.
Courtney, did you have anything else to wrap up?
Yeah, was there anything else that anybody else wanted to say before we say goodbye to everybody?
Yeah, the book Fast Like a Girl is actually in my cart. I heard an interview with the author and I thought, wow, this woman knows what she's talking about. So
She does.
It's in my heart.
I consider her a hormone hero. I really do. I've been doing natural health for 20 years and I have become a disciple of Dr. Mindy Pelz because she took hormones to the nth degree and she pulled it out of the closet and, really, really shed some light on it. And I really, really like, what she's done. And even if you're not into fasting, this book, Fast Like a Girl, you will learn more about your female cycle in this book. If you don't ever want to fast and you have zero interest in it, I highly recommend this book so that you as women can learn about your cycle. Because there's foods that you can eat that'll support you during cycles. There's exercises you can do that'll support you during cycles. And there's food that you can eat that will be destructive during certain cycles. And there's exercises that you can do that will be destructive during certain cycles. If you're one of those marathon runners and you run every day, you might need to pick a few days where you don't run, during your cycle. So pick up her book. It's a fantastic book. Men, pick up this book. It's a fantastic book. And the other thing is cortisol. I mean, not cortisol. Your cholesterol levels affect your hormone levels. I know we didn't talk about that, Shannon, but cholesterol is one of the building blocks of all hormones. And so you got to get your cholesterol. You want that. You want cholesterol. It's a yummy thing. You want cholesterol. The reason they don't check a woman's cholesterol when she's pregnant is because her cholesterol is through the roof because she's making a baby. She's making a body. And so cholesterol is the building blocks and the foundation of our cellular makeup, especially our hormones. So make sure that your liver's working well, so that your cholesterol is working well, so that your hormones are working well. That's all connected as well.
Cholesterol makes estrogen.
Yeah, it does.
We need estrogen for good brain health.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
You don't want it too high, but you do want it.
Yeah. And it helps with testosterone as well. And we want testosterone. We talk about testosterone as being a male hormone. We need testosterone as well. It's part of our vitality. It's just in different doses in our bodies than it is in men's bodies as well. So we have talked over an hour and I said we were only going to talk an hour. So any last minute things? Huh?
In closing, this is overwhelming.
Yeah.
And we all have our own stories and we've had to digest a lot of information. And as coaches, we are here for you. So we have a group on Facebook if you want to get to know us a little bit more and interact with us a little bit more to find the best fit for you, so you have someone to talk to and help you walk in your journey to balanced hormones. We're here.
Absolutely.
And that's all I had left to say. I think we covered everything else.
Shannon, what is that Facebook group called?
Holistic Health Front.
But the Facebook is called Positive People.
Powerful People Community.
Powerful People
There it
Community.
is.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Powerful People Community. Yeah.
On Facebook.
You can reach us out there, leave a message in the text, but definitely take it serious and do some research on your own, jump in. The more you know now, the better it is, through the remainder. So, all right, guys, thanks for spending Saturday morning. Well, it was our Saturday morning and we don't know when this will air, but thanks for spending time with us. We at the Holistic Health Front greatly appreciate you. We appreciate our audience. If you like what we do, share us with your friends. And, we hope you keep coming back. Thanks so much. Bye, everybody. Have a fantastic day.